Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is not what I planned to. This video is not the video I planned to do this afternoon. However, there is a global health emergency breaking right now in Africa. There's an epidemic of the Ebola disease. Now, I'm just going to share this with you guys quickly. This is from the World Health Organization's own website. Epidemic of Ebola disease caused by, I'm sorry guys, I keep laughing when I say this, Bundibugyo virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda determined a public health emergency of international concern. So that's what's happening right now. This is right now, guys. This is this is today, guys, on the 17th. Now, I'm not going to read you this whole thing because it's quite it's quite lengthy. What I've done is I've summarized this. I've got some videos to share with you guys. Just before I get onto this, right? I'm absolutely not saying that this is happening. I'm absolutely not saying this. However, if you've watched my previous videos, when I talked about the hantavirus and I talked about the norovirus and I talked about all the other stuff, it does feel, right? I'm absolutely not saying that this is happening, but it feels like somebody's trying to push a global medical emergency on us, right? And if you think now with the emergence of artificial intelligence and scraping tools and Palantir, you can actually find out what's happening on social media. You can find out what people are thinking, right? You know, so all this social media and this free social media where people are putting their, putting their thoughts and comments. I don't think it would be beyond the realms of possibility to assume that somewhere there is an artificial intelligence system that can correlate all this information and, for example, the hantavirus, whatever. If people are saying, yeah, they're not falling for this hanta, we're not going to be able to get many vaccines, or, yeah, they're not falling for this hanta, nobody's going to listen. You would assume that that information could be correlated and then used by whoever's doing the correlating, right? Because that makes perfect sense. So I'm absolutely not saying that that's happening. And as always, guys, literally, like always, err on the side of caution. If you know me in my, in my personal life, I will always tell people to err on the side of caution. That said, sometimes I understand that you can't err on the side of caution and you just have to jump in head first. Then, people, but I make those decisions very quickly. So the World Health Organization has just declared a major Ebola outbreak in the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's not very democratic. It's not a republic. And Uganda, a public health emergency of international concern. That's what they're banding it, guys. Okay, their highest level of alert. This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bundibugyo strain. So if anything could be worse about Ebola, it's the Bundibugyo strain. All right. So I'm not making light of it. Ebola's bad enough, but the Bundibugyo strain is even worse. There is no vaccine, no specific treatment, and it's already taken at least 88 people to the candy shop. Health officials believe it may have been spreading undetected for up to 3 weeks. One case has now been confirmed in Uganda's capital. And this, one way that, just pretend you're behind the scenes, right? You're like, yeah, nobody's falling for the hantavirus. And you're like, right, phase 2, release a real virus. Obviously, I'm not saying that's happening, but, it just feels like there's been a lot of, these little viruses pushed on us. Now, I just want to, I feel like I need to address the elephant in the room, right? I'm not saying that this is the case. What I'm saying is, I don't know, you don't know, and we don't know, right? So you just think that this virus has been, could have been spreading for up to 3 weeks. Do we know if any of these people have come to the United Kingdom? And if we are going down that road, I think, the question that people should be asking is, with thousands of small boat migrants crossing the channel from, we don't know where, many countries, we don't know where because they throw their passports, could this virus already be in Britain? And, I'm not saying that's the case. What I'm saying is I don't know, because there are no checks and balances and anybody just seems to be able to come to the United Kingdom. We're told that the risk to Britain is low. We're told our borders are secure and the screening in place. But let's be honest, we've seen how these things play out before. People who arrive on small boats often bypass the health checks, right? Because I'm gonna assume that if they're coming over on a small boat, they don't have a visa, right? And one of the things you have to do with a visa is you have to, do you know what? Actually, getting into Baghdad is actually harder than getting into Britain. Yeah, Iraq. When I used to work in Iraq, every 3 months you had to have a blood test. Literally every 3 months you had to have blood screening. So if you were so what they used to do is you would work 2 months, you would come home or go somewhere for 2 months, go on holiday or whatever, and then you'd go back to Baghdad, which is a 3-month cycle, right? So every time you landed at the airport, before they let you out the airport, they would blood screen you, right? You had to pay like $120 for that. So, this doesn't happen but anyone can come into the United Kingdom. So maybe, listen, we're talking about safe places to go. Maybe Iraq's the safest place to go. Sorry. So we are told in the United Kingdom that the risk to the British public is low. We're told that our borders are secure and screening is in place. Now, we saw a small boats going to Ramsgate a couple of weeks ago, and they were out within 20 minutes. And I'm sorry, guys, you can't screen one person in 20 minutes. You can't. You cannot screen anyone in 20 minutes. Many of these are housed in, hotels and dispersed across the country at the government's expense. Contact tracing for illegal migrants is extremely difficult. Ebola is highly contagious in its late stages. It spreads through bodily fluids. Even if one infected person has made the crossing, it could now be moving freely in Britain. I'm just giving you guys that because that's, that is the truth. We already have a stretched NHS, overcrowded housing, and a government that seems more focused on welcoming people than public health. Guys, and that's what it feels like, right? So with open borders on one side and a deadly African outbreak of Ebola on the other side, are we seriously supposed to believe there's zero risk to the United Kingdom, that there's zero risk here? So I'm going to share with you guys some videos now, and maybe I'm seeing things now, and maybe those dots are not there. But I'm just wondering who these people are coming over the borders. Yes, there's a terrorist threat. Yes, there's the criminal gangs, but could there also be infected people? Not just Ebola. Could they be bringing other things into the country? Other diseases that we've not seen in this country for a long time. These people are not checked. So as far as I'm concerned, right, be as woke as you want. Those viruses kind of don't care how woke you are. Right, hang on. I've got a video to share with you guys. Let me share this. Remember, guys, this is the Bundy Bungo. This is the deadly Bundy Bungio strain of Ebola, and that's like the worst one. Everyone always says, listen, Ebola's bad, but you don't want to get the Bundy Bungio virus, the Bundy Bungio strain, because that one is honestly, guys, the Bundy Bungio, not the Bundy Bungio. Right, let me share this video. Sorry.
Has declared a global public.
Sorry.
The World Health Organization has declared a global public health emergency after an Ebola outbreak in Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, the DRC.
Western countries, they don't understand that when Africa is affected, they are also at risk.
So how contagious is it, and how worried should we be? Patient zero is believed to have been a nurse in the DRC who on the 24th of April presented with symptoms, fever, vomiting and bleeding.
Like, why are we only just finding out now if this has been happening since if this was presented on the 24th of April? Why has it taken almost a month?
C'est ce rapatriement de ce corps dans la zone de santé de Mongwalu, qui est une zone.
Okay, sorry. He's talking about how this happened. So somebody's body got repatriated to an area which is a large mining area with a large population. So I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of cobalt and rare earth materials come from copper, tin, come from the DRC. A lot of my friends work in DRC. It's a massive, it's a mine. DRC is a mine. Everybody does mining. And a lot of these miners, these are poor, just really poor people, and they are used as slaves. They're used as slaves to mine cobalt for electric cars, and they're dying. They're dying in phenomenal numbers. Nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to care because people are getting the cobalt for their batteries, and people are getting their lithium, and they're sending kids in to mine this stuff, and it's dark, guys. It's a dark. It's dark, and it just seems the whole world are turning the other way to what's happening in DRC.
Où il y a beaucoup de personnes qui a fait flamber l'épidémie.
One big concern is that this outbreak could be particularly deadly because the Ebola strain is the Bundibugia virus.
It's the Bundibugia virus, guys. It's the strain of Bundibugia. I can't believe it. The first thing when I woke up this morning, I heard about this. I said, guys, listen, what, Ebola? They said, yeah. I said, it's not the Bundibugyo, is it? They said, yeah, fuck, it is. It's the Bundibugyo. I was like, oh my God, not Bundibugyo.
And there's no approved vaccine or drugs for it. It's the DRC's 17th outbreak since Ebola first emerged in the country in 1976. Ebola is highly contagious and spreads through bodily fluids such as vomit, blood or semen. The disease is
vomit, blood or semen. So listen, girls, whatever you're doing, all I'm saying is all I'm saying, right?
It causes is rare but severe and often fatal. In 2014, Sky's special correspondent Alex Crawford visited a UN Ebola centre in Liberia. Medics dressed her in special PPE to avoid any contact, physical or airborne, with patients there. It was one of the biggest Ebola outbreaks in West Africa. The WHO said 2 people who tested positive for the virus in Uganda were travelling from the DRC. One of them died.
It's not a simple disease. It's a deadly disease as well. So I should say, me as a Ugandan, I'm really frightened. I'm worried, I'm scared.
So how worried should we be?
Western countries, they don't understand that when Africa is affected, they are also at risk.
If you live in the United Kingdom, we absolutely understand that. We understand that we're like, if you live in the United Kingdom, we absolutely understand that we are at risk from Africa.
Because people are flying every day.
So he's saying because people are flying every day, people are leaving, people are traveling, and he's letting us know that this thing could spread basically.
And it means building strong system, supporting Africa, investing in Africa to have the local manufacturing of our vaccine and medicine is also the way to protect Western countries.
The WHO said the outbreak does not meet the criteria of a pandemic emergency.
Yet. Right, give me a second. Let me just ask AI why is Ebola only in Africa? Ebola outbreaks primarily occur in sub-Saharan Africa because the virus's natural animal reservoir, specifically fruit bats, live in the continent's tropical rainforest. Right, okay, so this is from fruit bats. I didn't know that. In fact, let me share this with you guys. So I just asked AI, why is Ebola only in Africa? Ebola outbreaks primarily occur in sub-Saharan Africa. Like I said, fruit bats, lives in the continent's tropical rainforest ecosystem. The virus cannot survive or establish a permanent presence in areas without these specific wildlife hosts to maintain it. Okay. While Africa remains the primary zone for human outbreaks, the virus is not strictly exclusive to the continent. The factors keeping Ebola largely contained to specific African regions involve ecological, biological, and transmission traits. Okay. Biological limits on spread. Inability to air travel. Ebola is not airborne. It does not spread like COVID or flu through the air. Direct fluid transmission. It can only pass through direct contact with infected bodily fluids. Blood, vomit, sweat, and similar. Rapid incapacitation. The virus makes patients severely ill quickly because the infected individuals are rapidly incapacitated. They rarely board international flights or travel before showing symptoms. Right. That is counter. So that's counter to what we've been told about this one, because this one, this particular strain, it's the Bundibugyo, right? It is the Bundibugyo, and they're saying that this could have been spreading now for 3 weeks. If you guys remember, the first woman from the video we just shared with you guys, the first woman with the Bundibugyo, Bundibunga, patient 0, she was found, she presented sickness on, what was it, the 24th of April. So, you know, and they're only just declaring it now. So it could, you know, it could have been spreading. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to get some comments. I'm going to get some comments. Ghouls and Goblins is saying, so I get what you mean by true Africans. Yeah, I don't think people have not met true Africans yet. Waffling Keyboard is saying, man has to be in charge even if he is a swizzler because it's natural and wholesome. Females in government, it's heresy. I think we cross the line when we let them drive. Listen, I've got to agree, guys. You know when you sat at a junction? You know when you sat at a junction and you're just thinking, oh my God, I could reverse a tank out of there. And you see, it's normally a woman, right? It is. It's normally a woman. And or reverse parking at a supermarket. Oh my God. And the other day I was on a farm road. Like really narrow road. And there was 2 cars behind me. It's a bit of a rat run. I was on a farm run because I didn't want to get the traffic light. So I thought, right, I'll go the rat run. It's a little bit longer, but in heavy traffic, it's quicker because, you know, no one's on it. So as I was going up this farm road, there was like 2 or 3 vehicles behind me, right? And coming down towards me, there was a woman, right? And she stopped. And then there's like 3 or 4 vehicles now behind me. And I went like that to her and she says, reverse. And there's like 3 or 4 cars behind me. I said, love, you've only just got on here. Just reverse up there. She says, I can't, I'm a woman. And I just started laughing. I said, honestly, do you want a funny husband? And she says, no, you need to reverse. And there was a bit of a standoff because I went to the other cars behind me. There was like a builder. There was a guy with his son. I said, guys, she wants us all to reverse. I said, are you in a rush? And everybody was like, no, we're not in a rush. So we all just sat there looking at each other. It was a bit of an anticlimax. But anyway, yes, I'm not sure women should be able to drive. Fred Fred is saying Dave Chappelle says Ebola comes from someone having sex with a gorilla. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that about a lot of stuff. I don't know. I mean, could you imagine that? Like, who would do that? Like, the gorillas are big, right? They would pull your arms off. Munchausen's is saying Ebola virus disease first emerged in 1976. The virus was named after the Ebola River in DRC. Everyday school day, guys. I did not know that. Everyday school day. Yeah, D. Marie Gen X. This is exactly what I was saying. So we've had the hantavirus. We've had what have we had? We've had Hanta. We've had norovirus. We've had meningitis, and now we've got and now we've got Ebola. If you guys remember, like a while ago, well, whenever I did the meningitis video, I said to you guys, I said, does it not feel right now? I've got no information to back this up, and I don't understand. I don't understand this subject matter. Like, I don't know what vaccines do when they go into you. I don't know how those molecules attack the other molecules. So I don't, I don't know how that works, But it does feel, right? It does feel like there is a, right, tell them there's a Hanta. Right, they're not buying Hanta. Right. Tell them there's norovirus. Yeah, they're not buying norovirus at all. Oh, God, right, okay. Right, what else have we got? Meningitis. Give them meningitis. Yeah, nobody cares about meningitis. Right, okay, right. Release a real one, right? Release a real one. Oh, I don't know, guys. I don't think Bill Gates was around in 1970, whatever. I don't know. Rod Panhard is saying, you better not Right, I can't read some of these comments, ladies and gentlemen. I can't read some of these comments. And James is saying, the WHO are desperate for money and control. Trump has pulled their funding. Yeah, so listen, guys, if you guys are jumping on for the first time, I am going to keep this a relatively short video. I just wanted to let you guys know that the World Health Organization have, I'm not even going to speculate. I'm going to give it you straight from the horse's mouth. This is from the World... This is from the World Health Organization's website, right? You guys, can you see that? I don't know if you guys can see that at the bottom there, what I've highlighted. I don't know. So this is a statement today, May 17th, 2026. Literally, the statement's there. The read, it's an 8-minute read, so I'm not going to read it, guys. I've just summarized. If you're jumping on, wait till I've uploaded the video and then watch it from the beginning. So, epidemic of Ebola disease, and guys, listen, it's not just the Ebola disease, it's the Bundibugyo strain of the virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda, determined a public health emergency of international concern. So they are claiming, well, they are, they are calling this now a global, a global health emergency over Ebola. WHO declares global health emergency over Ebola outbreak. So what we know so far, 88 people have been suspected they've died of the Ebola virus. Now, they're saying that this particular strain was first identified on the 24th of last month. There are also 246 suspected cases in the DRC as of yesterday, and they're claiming that this is, that this is spreading. Now, what I've been asking on this live stream, guys, and I don't know the question. I don't know. I know the question. I don't know the answer, obviously. We have lots of people enter the United Kingdom. Lots of them from Africa. They don't bring with them identification. They don't bring with them their vaccine, I don't know, certificates like I would have to if I went to if I traveled to the Middle East, I would have to show that I'd had vaccines for X, Y, and Z. And when I got there, I would have to have a blood test because they would want to screen that themselves to make sure I'm not bringing any dangerous stuff into the country. Now, all I'm doing is asking a very simple question. Who's coming into the United Kingdom and what do they have? Because it's not just Ebola, right? Ebola is the one that I'm thinking about. But how do we know what diseases? Do you know what? Yeah, guys, I'm doing this in real time. I'm going to share this with you. I'm sorry. I'm doing this in real time. So I just asked AI. What new diseases and viruses have emerged or re-emerged in the UK in the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, the UK has faced emerging threats from newly identified variants of animal to human crossovers imported from viral pathogens. Most notably occurrence of new strains of Mpox and avian influenza, alongside emergence of previously controlled infections driven by falling vaccination rates. So we've had Mpox. Let's see. Right, yeah, so we have had a few. I'm not going to go into this, guys. So we've had resurgence. So we've had a resurgence in measles, whooping cough, and gonorrhea and syphilis. Sexually transmitted infections have hit a record high in the UK. Jesus. I thought syphilis was gone. I thought syphilis had been gone in the UK. Give me a second, guys. Sorry, guys, I'm just reading this. What? Okay, right, guys, I'm just going to read this. Okay, syphilis, right? Okay, I'm just going to read this. Okay, so let me stop sharing, right? Okay. Guys, I'm doing this in real time. I'm doing real time. I'm doing real world resurgence, right? I'm doing real world research. I'm doing real time research, okay? Syphilis. In 2000, there were 333 cases in the UK, right? That's 333 cases in the UK, right? In year 2000. And then between 2013 and 2019, infectious syphilis diagnosis increased by 140%. This surge was primarily concentrated in gay men and other men who, I don't know what the other word would be if you do things with men. So from 20. Oh, my head's going. This is hurting my head. So from 2013 to 2019, the cases like increased by 140%. Now, I'm not going to look into that anymore. Oh, what? But now it's raising between. Right, I'm not going to get onto that, guys. I'm not going to get onto that because that is there's a lot of information. I don't just want to read that out for you. Maybe I'll do a live stream on that on itself. Right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've been on for far too long. What I'm basically saying here is, the World Health Organization have declared a public health emergency of international concern. It's been reported on mainstream media that the World Health Organization declares a global health emergency over the Ebola outbreak. Now, my question to everybody is, we have no idea who's coming into this country, so could it already be here? That's my question, guys. And it feels like somebody's trying to push some sort of like global thing on us, guys, right? Rod Panhard is saying, I don't know why there is still Pride Month. Gays have every conceivable right they could ever want. It's just a month. It's disgusting. It is. It's absolutely disgusting. Can you imagine walking down the streets? If you don't know that, like, I don't know when it is. I don't know when it is, but I see it. I think it's in the summer sometime. Imagine you've took your kids out, right? You've took your kids out, you're in the shop and you're getting them some shoes or whatever. You come out and there's a load of blokes in leather with gimp masks on. Like, oh, well, that's all right. Okay. Anyway, guys, listen, I am going to go. I will be back on at 8. I will, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back on at 8. If you guys have not done so already, can you please hit those buttons? Like, comment, subscribe, bell notification. Really does help me out when you guys do that. Oh, hang on a minute. What? I can't. This hurts my head. I can't look at that. I'll look at that later. I will look at that later. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you guys at 8. Don't be late. And don't get Ebola either. Nobody needs Ebola. Especially not the Bundy Bungio. Go on. The Bundy Bungio strain. Nobody needs that. Anyway, I'll see you guys at 8.